It's about that time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of City Views. I'm Jacque Williams, your host, bringing it to you tonight by our sponsor, Toth Insurance Agency, located at 1151 East Main Street in the fine city of Torrington, Connecticut. Better protection, better value. Tonight, we are focusing on the candidates, what their perspectives are, what their issues are, and what their visions are for the city going forward. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have with you Democratic candidate for City Council, Keri Hoehne. Good evening.
Hi, Jacque. How are you? Thanks for having me.
So glad to have you here tonight to talk to our audience. And this is something that you and I just recently discovered, which makes this interview even more enchanting. City Views was a show that you used to garner as a young child.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, we've been watching it for years, so it's exciting to be a part of. There's been various times where I've had the opportunity to be on City Views in past years, and but not in several years, and not with you. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, as you know, the founder of City Views, Tim Driscoll, and Rick Delaval, and all the players involved in getting this show off the ground, was very instrumental in helping the community to understand more about government processes, and specifically through the City Council. And it just so happens that you are running for City Council, and I think you're bringing a fresh approach to your campaign, and I'm so excited about the opportunity to you sharing your perspectives with our audience. Now, coming into a situation like this where you're compelled to serve the community, that's got to be a huge sacrifice, especially when you're a working mother. Talk to our audience a little bit about making this big sacrifice and why you feel that it's necessary to do that with all the other activities that you have going on.
Okay, sure. Thank you. You're right. It's kind of a big undertaking. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. We both went to Torrington High School and put down roots here in Torrington. And we have 3 daughters. One just had her high school orientation at THS today. One's going to be starting at Torrington Middle School in 6th grade. And then I have a 7-year-old that's going into 2nd grade at Ogle. And we've watched over the years many of our friends leave Torrington. They decided that there was, a better education, better funded schools, nicer communities, and wanted to move out. So I've missed my friends. I'm sad that they left. But my husband and I, we really, despite having conversations, similar conversations ourselves and wondering whether we were making the best decision for our girls, year in and year out, when we have those conversations, we realize our kids are doing great. This is a good community full of people who get up every day and go to work and work as hard as they can to provide for their families. And my girls learn from tremendous teachers who make do with very little. And they have good friends and good values. And we don't have any desire to change that. But we do think that Torrington's really at a critical point in our history. And I work very full time. My office is in Westport. I spend lots of time on the road. I am trying to keep 3 kids alive. But it was really my 14-year-old that honestly ultimately pushed me to run for City Council. I just see that we're at this time where we can really make a decision to be a town that grows and invests in young people and invests in the future. Or we can just decide to stay with status quo and keep chipping away at everything we spend money on in an effort to keep our taxes at the very high level they're at, but not any higher. And I just really believe that, as taxpayers, we're paying so much money, but we're not getting very much for it. But we have all of these unique things that have happened to us during the pandemic. We have tons of new people that have moved in and have decided to come here, which I want to capitalize on that and keep them here. Um, and we've had, our children have learned to be in new environments, and we have lots of workers that now can work from home. So there's lots of new changes that I think we can use as opportunities. But the real reason, and I think the thing that ultimately pushed me to run, was working as a volunteer on the Torrington High School, Torrington Middle School building project referendum. When I was approached to help with that just a few weeks before election day, I never thought in a million years that taxpayers would make a commitment to spend money to build really two new schools. And we won that referendum overwhelmingly. And that kind of taught me two things. It taught me that when you talk to people about issues, they are receptive and they are engaged and they'll make the right decision. And I also learned that people believe in Torrington. They believe in our town. They believe investing in it. And so if we were able to get such a big vote like that, that high school can really be a flagship for our city. And we can use that as a springboard to bring in new businesses and to really grow our revenue stream and then really position Torrington much better for the future. So we have really great leadership from the top of the Democratic ticket all the way down. And I was really excited to be a part of that.
Talk a little bit about that Democratic ticket and the individuals on it and what your party platform is attempting to implement into the city.
Okay, sure. So we really have, we have solid incumbents on our city council like Paul Cavagnaro and Sharon Wagner, who have really been doing a great job asking the hard questions at every city council meeting. But we have a really tremendous candidate in Stephen Ivane, who's running for mayor. He's a businessman, and he is, willing to put his career on hold to come and work as our mayor because he also believes that Torrington, if we make investments in growing businesses here, we can position Torrington much better in the future. And then we have our Board of Education candidates. We have Ellen Hoehne, who is my mother-in-law, who years ago came to me when I was a volunteer and asked me to run. And I said, nobody wants to run for Board of Ed. and she did. And she's really remained committed to the Board of Ed for years and is a really steady voice there. And then we have new candidates in Travis Tanuous and Ed Corey, who's also an incumbent. But I say new because they're young. They're young voices who also believe in Torrington. And then we have on the Board of Public Safety, we have Glenn McLeod, who has been a really steady voice also on the board for years. And he's joined by Alexa Keener, who is a young professional. She doesn't have a family yet, but she is getting married and has bought a house in Torrington and really believes in this city. And then our if you go further down our ticket, it's filled with men and women that are not voices you necessarily would always hear from or names you might know, but people who are diverse and really invested in our town and really up and coming leaders. And we really have, a pretty simple platform. The first thing we want to do is first thing we really believe is that the tax burden is really too high on our residents. And that's because our business growth has been so anemic. And so we want to first implement a plan to bring businesses back into Torrington. And we want to start by investing in our economic development department. We need to be able to grow that. And then we need to make it easy for businesses to come here. We hear from businesses in town that have come in recent years. And they say that there's a lot of roadblocks thrown up. If they need to develop, they have to be, a local developer, for instance. Otherwise, they can't get their plans approved and things of that nature. So we want to have there be really an ambassador for any business that comes in. And from the time they come in with their first idea to their opening day and beyond, we want to have that ambassador that can follow them through all the steps of the process, tell them who they need to contact, what permits they need, what capital they need, and simple things like, where to go to advertise and how to arrange for a trash pickup. So we want to be able to have, that an ambassador take businesses from their first idea all the way through their opening day. And simple things like our website really could be substantially improved. I've started to look at other town websites because I was trying to find out information about their recreational offerings. And, if you go to Bristol's website, it's exciting, it's interactive, it's very easy to navigate. I mean, we have parts on our Torrington website that still talk about our, teenage singing competition from 2017 that's still posted there. So that's simple stuff. I mean, the first place you go to find any information, especially now, is the internet. So we should be able to make sure that that is ready and running. And then we need to be tenacious about going out into um, talking to our state government and our state leaders and forming partnerships with them to figure out where we can get grants, where we can get um, information to try to find new businesses. We need to look for grants to bring in new businesses. Um, we need to leave no stone unturned. We need to talk to every small town around us and partner and see what we can offer that they can't, and vice versa, so that we can bring more and more people into Litchfield County and also take all of the new people that have moved here during the pandemic and encourage them to stay. Um, we also have some other things, further down, other ideas on our platform. We want to be really careful with the tax money that we do have and be good stewards of our residents' money. And we want to particularly be careful with the use of tax abatements. We want to make sure that tax abatements are used to bring in businesses that are providing family sustaining jobs, because we have a jobs issue in Torrington. Abatements in recent years have been used to bring in housing developers. And while new housing is great and new development is great, I don't believe that we need to throw taxpayer money at that, because it's really throwing our tax money to a developer to build a house, to build housing that then is going to bring more children into our school system, more residents that need police and fire and more resources. So it's really not a good use of our money, because it's going to cost us money on the back end, and yet that developer's not paying any taxes up in the front. So we also, talking about being stewards of our money, we need to be really careful about our capital expenditures. We have year in and year out completely eliminated the capital budget for school buildings. And that's what got us into the situation that we're in with needing to build a new high school and middle school, is that there's no money in that budget. So when something goes wrong, we have to pull that money out of programming or out of staffing to pay for it, but it's always on an emergency basis. There's no planning for what needs to be repaired in 5 or 10 years. Nobody likes to spend money on their roof, or the structure of their building, but we all have to do it. We all do it as taxpayers. We save our money, we budget for it, we have a plan to replace our furnace when it breaks. We should be doing that in the city as well. So these are sometimes difficult things, but we have found that the current leadership really just likes to keep everything steady, keep their heads down, no big ideas, no sudden movements, and just kind of keep chipping away at our spending so that we can keep our budget balanced. But we're paying a ton of money, so it's time to make some bold decisions and get to a place where our city can grow and we can get more for our money.
Now, coming into the position of city council, what improvements would you like to see in perhaps how the process or agendas are worked on to be more engaging with the public and to be more transparent?
So that is a really, being more transparent is a big goal of our Democratic ticket. It's the reason why many of us are running. And it's kind of, for me, it's a little bit personal, because I'm a mom, I'm working. I am not the resident that's going to be able to sit at all of the town meetings and, city council or board of ed and pay attention to every meeting that happens. I try to, read the agendas, talk to people who are there, pay attention to the media coverage of those events, but I just can't be at all of them. And there are so many people like me, but we want our voices heard. It's why I'm running. I don't know whether I'll be able to be at every town event that happens. I'll come when I can, but I'm going to be as engaged as I possibly can. And I think we need to create an environment in our city council meetings where the public feels free to do that, where they can come when they are able, and I want them to be able to speak freely and not feel intimidated. I've been at meetings and spoken publicly at city council meetings, and sometimes there is, from the leadership, sort of a feeling that I shouldn't be there, or I don't know what I'm talking about, or I'm, asking questions and I might not know the answers, and so I shouldn't be there. And I don't get intimidated easy, but if I was, maybe a mom that didn't have a job speaking in the public, I might not want to ever go back to another city council meeting again. So first thing is I want to be welcoming to the people that come to the meetings. The other thing is you mentioned City Views, came about as a way to cover and bring light to city council meetings decades ago. I didn't know that fun fact, but um, that's tremendous because we over the years have tried to figure out ways to affordably record meetings and show them to the public, and that's been an ongoing issue. Now we have Zoom and we have other tremendous ways to reach out to people. We now all have like a year and a half under our belts of using this new technology to get as many people involved in meetings as possible. And I host meetings all over the state, and now that I have many of them that people can Zoom into, our participation has skyrocketed. So I want to make sure that we continue to do that so that people can watch taped versions of the meetings afterwards. But I think we should allow testimony from the public by Zoom as well. Often testimony has been limited to only people who can come in person, and I don't think that's necessary. I think we should be looking to engage as many people as possible in as many ways as possible. We shouldn't be afraid because these are residents that are paying for our city, and they should be able to ask the hard questions and seek the answers. I also, as a matter of kind of how meetings run, I think it's really important that any information, any background information about a vote that's going to be taken is provided to the city council members as early as possible. Oftentimes, they're only getting the information a couple days before, and that's not enough time to do our due diligence and our research before making a vote. So I want to make sure that we really push to have as much information. If you're a leader that's making good policy decisions, you shouldn't be afraid to engage the public and have all the information out as early as possible.
Now, Keri, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts and views on downtown. What's up with downtown?
So, I mean, I'm excited to see the development that already is happening. And I want to make sure that continues. I want to make sure that when somebody wants to open a small business, we make it super easy for them to do that. And that we really capitalize on what our strengths are. So the arts are our strengths. We should really be partnering more closely with the various artists and organizations that support the arts. We should be working collaboratively with all of the surrounding towns. I think sometimes we operate in a silo, and Torrington has things to offer that, Litchfield or Cornwall doesn't, but vice versa. And so we should be making it so that our town is a destination for those folks that want to come, into the city on the weekends. Don't just drive through downtown on their way to Target or Stop and Shop. And also, I think we should really focus on downtown and what our strengths are there. We shouldn't try to be something we're not. It's not going to probably be where people come to do the bulk of their retail shopping, for instance. Boutique shops will bring people in, sort of unique types of offerings. The arts will bring people. And then I think as many restaurants as we can get in there is great too, because again, we have so many people that have come here from New York City and from surrounding cities, and we have good opportunities, and we have more opportunities to bring them in to spend time and money here on the weekends. And we want to make this a great place for them to do that, so they don't feel the need to move back to wherever they came from.
Now, as far as your vision is concerned in terms of your service on the city council, if you were to be elected, what are you bringing to the table to help craft that public policy that will ultimately enhance the quality of life for the residents?
So I think I have a few qualities that really make me a good candidate and could make me a good city councilwoman. I think first, really bringing in that personal experience of being right in the thick of raising children and working. I want to make it so that it doesn't feel like an exclusive organization where only those with free time can come and be part of the decision-making process. So I want to continually bring up the voices of those of us that are, if we're lucky, we're only working one full-time job, right? But most residents of town, many of them are cobbling together multiple part-time jobs. And so I want to figure out how to reach out to those folks to make it easy for them to engage, which then moves on to something else. I do a lot of work in communications. I want to be able to come up with all the ways like Zoom or texting or Facebook Live. Like there's so many methods that are essentially free to engage all of our community. So I want to make sure that I push to do that in as many ways as we can. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm not afraid to challenge authority. I want to be able to ask the big questions so that we think big, because we cannot just keep our heads down and hope that things are going to get better. It's not going to happen. It's going to take bold leadership and people that aren't afraid to take some risks and make investment. You can't cut your way to growing our city and making our city successful. That's not how it works. You can't just cut your way to business growth, and it's the same for a city. So I want to continue to push that when we want to make big things be better, we have to put the investment in, and the investment can be in time, or it can, in many cases, it's going to have to be in money. And I think if we invest in business growth, that's going to turn around and bring more revenue into our city that we then can spend on our schools, our buildings, our police and our fire, and recreation. We should have an open swimming pool right now, and we should have recreational opportunities. When people choose what town to live in, a lot of times they're choosing where there's going to be recreational activities for their children. And it often feels like our current leadership kind of forgets that we have kids living here. And I want to bring in young families.
As we close this round of interviews, what are some of your thoughts about the pink elephant in the room downtown, the Yankee Peddler?
So I just was talking to a businessman who said, I would love to bring people down here to invest in more of our buildings and in our town. I don't even have anywhere for them to stay. That's a beautiful building. It would be really great if we could make it more of a mixed use, so that, I don't know that it will survive standalone as a giant hotel. I don't know that we have enough people coming in here just yet to do that, but I would love to find a developer that could has the money to invest and the wherewithal to do it. And in the meantime, we need to make sure that building is safe. If we just saw what happened in New Hartford, I don't know that our fire department could get to that building in enough time to protect all of the buildings around it. Inside there's quite a bit of decay, and it's an old building to begin with. So I do worry that something happens and the rest of that block is at risk. So we need to make sure that that's safe in the meantime. And then as part of pushing to bring businesses in, I think that would be one of our big focuses. That is a gorgeous building with a beautiful exterior. And, if we had room for people to stay there, maybe business suites, something along those lines, so that it's not a bunch of rooms, it's less rooms with more space. I think that might be a great thing for Torrington. You're seeing a lot of people set up, VRBOs in town and places to rent, and they're successful with that. So the last time I had anybody stay in the Yankee Peddler was my wedding 18 years ago, and I was really excited to have people staying there, but I haven't been in there since. So
it definitely had quite the reputation.
Yeah, our best friends got engaged there too. I mean, there's so much fun history there, but so we just have to, again, we have to be bold, and that's, I'm sure that's an expensive undertaking, but we just have to find the right person that wants to invest and get it done.
Well, Keri, as I stated, this is the first in, let's just say, a series of conversations that we hope to have with you here on City Views.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the opportunity. And I really appreciate you during this pandemic, coming up with as many ways to reach our residents and inform them about what's going on in our city too.
Not a problem. And we want to remind everyone, if they want to see more content on City Views, you can do so on our YouTube channel at CityViews-CT, or you can check out our full episodes on our website at cityviews-ct.com. Just take a look. at some of the history that City Views has created over the decades. Can you believe we're saying that, Keri?
I know, it happened fast, didn't it?
Indeed, it has. So thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Thank you, Keri Hoehne, the Democratic nominee for City Council right here in the fine city of Torrington, Connecticut. Teen-town strong, y'all. You know what's up. Stay tuned. Check us out for more. In the meantime, peace out.